I'm Kevin Overstreet. I'm the founder and president of Become a Better Agent LLC, which is a real estate professional development program. And one of the things that we've created over the last several months through the BABA program is the Property PreQual. And this is something that our listing agents are taking great advantage of, and I'll get into the details of how it works and what it is in just a little bit. But today, we're in this incredible house in Apollo Beach at 6706 Surfside in Apollo Beach, and we have Mr. Eric Fleming here, who is the seller, the current owner of this property. And I really just want to get some feedback for you all to see from the seller's perspective how the prequal is of value. And so we're here with the right guy, but first, Eric, if you could tell us a little bit about you, and you're an interesting guy, but this property might even be more interesting right now because it's incredible. So I'd love to hear, as a property investor, why you chose this house, what you've done to it, and where it's going for.
Oh gosh, what I've done to it is vast, but why I chose the house, which I think all investors should look at, is the value was there. The difference in this property that other investors probably didn't see, and some things you may not see on TV, it takes a lot of work, but it takes planning. And part of the planning in picking this house was how much money I want to spend in it and when I get the value out of it. So every decision I made is about the value that I could get in return. So I didn't make any move that didn't involve me getting a return in value. I.e., when you see some of the finishings and the floors and the herringbone pattern, I put in my mind a value will be derived for the extra money I spend in the design. So when you go through that process and you get towards the end of it, when I found out about your company, I looked at what all they offered me, and there again, I got value from doing the prequal. Extremely important. Because if it wasn't value in doing the pre-qual, I wouldn't have done it. So, when you have someone come out and inspect your home, like any homeowner, we all have the feeling like, oh, my home is perfect. Right. There's nothing wrong with my home. Yes, it is. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have another set of eyes that can look at your home and fix little things that the buyer, a litigious buyer, come in and see things that you may never see. Sure. So when the home was inspected by the pre-qual, I was like, okay, it's little things, but I still have to fix them. Right. Which I was happy, because you don't want to see you don't want to have a buyer to find these issues, because that can be for them, that can be a deterrent, or they can have two homes in their mind, and they can say, you know what, if they made these issues wrong, what else can be wrong?
Yeah, so, and I think one of the most important points for in terms of the inspection is what's typical without the prequal, without the property prequal, the seller and buyer agree on a price and agree on a closing date or proposed closing date and about 1,000 other things in the contract. And whatever that price is set. However, when the buyer has their inspection done, because you haven't already had it done for them, they find things because you didn't know about those things and couldn't repair them. And now negotiations are open again. Mm-hmm. And a lot of contracts are the as-is contract, and that means the buyer can walk really for just about any reason. So, right. What I think the prequal, from my point of view, what it really does is, in addition to helping the home be more marketable and the realtor have more info to share with the buyers, it actually solves or answers a lot of the questions that are in the contract before they're asked, and it also eliminates a lot of the potential outs for the buyer.
Yeah, to me it was a safety net. Now when the home is showed or a house goes on the market, you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm not worried about nobody coming in saying this and that. Now, if they don't like the aesthetics or the color pattern, that's a different story. But as far as the workmanship of the house, because people cut corners here and there. But when you have it inspected and you have it done prior to, anything that was done, a cut corner is going to come out, and the seller's going to know it.
And I think that's a typical, this is certainly not a typical investment property. However, just about anyone who's been around the block a few times in real estate, they're going to have the belief, and it's also often true, that, well, this was an investment for the seller. So when he or she rehabbed, whatever that means, the property, they probably cut some corners, they probably went cheap, and I think it's brilliant for you to have had the pre-qual done for this house, really to validate the fact that that didn't happen.
Yeah. For me, in this particular house, which is a rarity, I'm a novice investor, meaning I haven't done a lot of these. So this house was this house was redone really with part of me saying I'm gonna stay here. So some things were done with that thought process. So no, if it didn't sell, I'd say, you know what, darn, I got to stay in this beautiful house on the water.
Right.
What a force. So, but I did those things because I know when somebody spend this type of money in a house, they should get quality. And I think in any house, every house has a certain level of quality, and you should give it. And I think by doing the pre-qual, is actually from a seller standpoint, and if you're a buyer out there, if somebody has a pre-qual, it should let you know a lot about the seller, what type of seller this is. No matter what take place, it's a seller that took time to spend extra money to get the house inspected and all these things for you, the buyer. So if you're a seller, you should do this all day long. It's a rateable company that's got excellent reviews. What I've read, and so far has been supremely great from your company, and I've gotten that benefit. So now when I market my home, I just feel real comfortable knowing that I got a great backing.
And I think your day job is you're an attorney for the state, for the government?
For the government.
Okay, so I'm guessing that you probably took a closer look at this stuff than a lot of folks.
Well, yes and no, because I also own a couple of restaurants, so I take my time and look at things. But when I looked at the value, it just jumped out the page. I'm like, wow, I'm basically doing everything for the buyer. How do I lose? I'm saying, listen, but not only does the home looks good, it is good.
Right.
Because everything that looks good don't mean it's good.
Absolutely.
You look about a car, you say, oh God, it's a beautiful car, but is it a lemon? Okay, so this is the lemon law for homes.
It's
you really think about
it's
it.
really the Carfax report.
That's exactly what it is.
And back, I don't know when Carfax started, but let's say 20 years ago, probably when fax machines were being used, I bet.
Right.
And before that, everyone just rolled back odometers. Everyone just put lipstick
Correct.
on the pig.
Right.
And you really didn't know what you were getting. And the property prequal doesn't, it's not a warranty saying that everything's going to be perfect with the home, but it's transparency. And I think that's what I know that's what every buyer wants, is they want to know the truth about the property. And yeah, it makes it more attractive. It makes it a little less expensive to the buyer. And again, it answers a lot of their questions.
Well, it shows too when the inspection is done, there were certain things wrong, and then the seller went and fixed these things. So it's not like you're gonna get a inspection like say, oh God, everything was absolutely great with the home. No, that's not the case. That's not human.
It's so common for, and I think I know that the prequal really makes a lot of agents stand out that are using it, because it is so common, unfortunately, for sellers and sometimes the listing agents to say, look, we have to do this seller's disclosure for the buyer once we find the buyer, but it's to the best of your knowledge. So to the best of my knowledge, nothing is wrong with X, Y, and Z. So a lot of times they don't want the knowledge, because then they can fill out the disclosure without necessarily.
That's a legal out, and this really shuts the door and let people know these are the things that are wrong, because some things a seller may not choose to fix, but when the inspection is done, he or she will do mostly all the fixings that need to be done to the property, and you as a buyer will be completely satisfied. I think that the pre-qual is a superior thing that I chose to be involved with, and I think is excellent.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for your time
Of course.
today. And I look forward to the closing.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right.